Talk about Simone Biles today and whether she should have competed in the Olympics. And I got banned again from YouTube. Welcome back to Bible Bears, everyone. I'm Ryder Cullison. So my last video, which came out, I think last Monday, I posted it. It was about something Joe Biden said in relation to 12-year-olds getting vaccine at a town hall event with Don Lemon. This is what he said.
And the question is whether or not we should be in a position where you are. Why can't the experts say we know that this virus is in fact it's going to be, or excuse me, we know why all the drugs approved are not temporarily approved but permanently approved.
Then I made some comments about whether I felt 12-year-olds should get vaccines, such as, no, I don't think they should get vaccines because they have a 99.995% chance of survival, according to a UK study where they show at least the mortality rate for children between the ages of 0 and 18 is only 2 in 1 million, making it more likely that these... So I wake up in the morning, look at my analytics, and YouTube has notified me that they've removed my video because I spread medical misinformation, even though I cited a study. And so I was like, you son of a lousy sucker bitches, you took my video down again and you banned me for a whole week? Actually, I didn't yell like that. I'm a Christian, so I took it in stride, thought I was a little angry, and I appealed it. And of course, YouTube rejected my appeal because that's just what they do. Now, my video was taken down within hours. And because I have so few subscribers, I don't think I got on the radar of any employee at YouTube. In other words, someone who watched my video didn't like what I had to say and reported me. Thank you so much for getting me banned for yet another week.
I'm coming to get you.
But I forgive you. Guys, before we get into the story, don't forget to hit that bell notification so that you'll be alerted when I post new videos. And if you want to support this channel, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Alright, so I'm done ranting about YouTube. But before we talk about Simone Biles, it's time for the bad dad joke of the day, and this one is bad. So Arnold Schwarzenegger goes back home to Austria for Easter, and upon returning to the United States, someone says, "Hey, Arnie, I heard you went back to Austria for Easter. How was it?" And Arnold Schwarzenegger said, and I cannot do an Arnold Schwarzenegger accent, but he said, "Oh, it was terrible. My father hid all the Easter eggs. He hid them in places where no one could find them. It was a total disaster. The whole day was just bad." And so Arnie's friend said, "Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. So this mean you no longer like Easter?" And Arnold said, "No, of course not. I still love Easter, baby." I told you that was bad. Alright, Simone Biles, here's my Christian reaction to whether she should have competed in the Olympics or not. If you don't know who Simone Biles is, she is the greatest Olympic gymnast of all time. Probably men or women, and not just U.S. gymnasts, anywhere, of all time. She is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. I don't even think it's debatable. She's the Wayne Gretzky of women's Olympic gymnastics. So she's coming into the 2020 Tokyo Games, and she is favored to probably win 4 gold medals in the team event and a number of individual events, including the women's all-around. So she competes in part of the women's team event. The women's team is favored to win the gold medal. She withdraws. The women end up getting silver, losing out to the Russian Olympic Committee. Despite getting silver, it was still a huge loss. It was an upset. Simone Biles said mentally she just wasn't there. She needed to take time out for her mental health. This is something we saw recently with Naomi Osaka, world's #3 tennis player. She withdrew from the French Open because she did not want to fulfill her obligations to speak to the press after every match, citing basically mental fatigue. She needed to work on her mental health. So instead of meeting with the press after each of her matches, she chose to withdraw from the French Open tournament, and then she did not compete at Wimbledon the following Grand Slam tournament, which was in June, citing the same thing, working on her mental health. It was great to see Osaka compete at this year's Tokyo Games. She is part Japanese, so I'm glad she came out for that. She lost early on, but Simone Biles took a page from Osaka's playbook and cited basically mental fatigue. She has since, at the time of this video, withdrawn from a number of the individual events. Okay, so imagine, you have to put this in context. She is the greatest gymnast of all time. She is not over the hill. She is young. She was the favorite to win at least 4 gold medals. Imagine if 8 years ago, 12 years ago, Michael Phelps, in his prime, Michael Phelps has like 2,000 Olympic medals, said, yeah, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not going to compete in the relay events or any of the individual events because I'm working on my mental health. Imagine if Usain Bolt, one of the fastest sprinters of all time, probably the best 100-meter sprinter, 8 years ago, in the prime of his career, coming in. Everybody knows he's going to win the 100. Everybody knows he's probably going to win the 200. He's the gold medal favorite, and he says, I'm just not feeling 100%. I'm not going to go out there and race. So as you can imagine, Simone Biles took a pile of criticism, but a lot of people came to her rescue and said, boy, she is so courageous for stepping down and to work on her mental health. And while I do think it took some ounces of courage to admit that you're struggling and that you need to step away, does stepping away really take more courage than going out there and competing? There's not even spectators in the stands. So you have an empty stadium. Yes, the world is watching you. She's competed, but she's dealt with this. She's competed at World Championships. She's competed at Olympics. What's going on? Is she really more courageous for not competing? Why not just tell all the other teammates? Show your true courage and not compete. Look, we all know going out there would have been more courageous than not competing. What I think happened here is Simone Biles, it wasn't just that she was struggling mentally, she was just afraid to lose. So she quit instead. And yes, she was off. She was not competing at the high caliber that she was used to competing at. And she knew she had a chance to lose. She, even not at her best, she could have gone out there and won silvers and bronzes for the U.S. team. But for us to ask her to do that would be selfish. So we instead call her courageous for not competing at all. I understand. I can't even understand the pressure she's under. If you watch one of my last videos, that was my prayer of the day. Was praying for Simone Biles, that she was able to go out there and fix whatever was wrong with her mentally, and so that she could compete. Because one of the biggest parts of mental health, I think, is not having to deal with regret. Is she going to look back on this years ahead and regret her decision not to compete? Even if she came in 4th place, go out there and show that she has the courage to lose and not just to quit. So I was reminded of something that C.S. Lewis said. C.S. Lewis was making, when he was making an argument for God's existence, he was saying, we know God exists because of an objective moral value that seems to be inherent in all of us. And he makes this argument. He says, think of a country where people were admired for running away in battle, or where a man was proud of double-crossing all the people who had been kindest to him. You might just as well imagine a country where 2 + 2 = 5. So C.S. Lewis is saying, in no country do we ever admire anybody for running away in battle. And sadly, I think a little bit that's what Simone Biles did here. She ran away in battle. She knew, or at least she thought, she couldn't win. So she quit. She said she wasn't 100%. That's every NFL player every week. Michael Jordan went out and played with the flu. Almost every NBA player week in, week out, plays with some sort of toe injury or foot injury or sore throat. They know they're not going to go out and score 35 points every week. Conor McGregor, I don't love Conor McGregor, but his last fight, he went out there and competed with a cracked ankle, which ended up fracturing in several places during the fight, and he crumbled to the ground, and it was a doctor stoppage. He knew he wasn't 100%. He knew he could have gotten knocked out. He did it anyway. Sometimes you have to play through the pain. Now, as an added note, I was watching Rogan, and they brought up an interesting side story to this. Simone Biles supposedly takes attention deficit medicine. I don't know which one it is. It's either Ritalin or Adderall. That helps athletes focus. She may have ADD. In Japan, that's illegal. So if she couldn't take this medicine, yeah, it's going to affect her performance. And she probably certainly wasn't competing at 100%. She may not have been competing at 90%. But the point is, sometimes you just have to go out there and play for your friends, play for your teammates, play for your country, whether you're feeling it or not. So that's all I have to say on that. Put your comments below. What say you? Who are we praying for today? Steven Crowder, the conservative. Louder with Crowder. He's got a podcast. Far, far, far more subscribers than me. I think he's a Christian. Regardless, I do agree with some of his views. I don't always agree with his delivery. It's a bit bombastic. It's a bit making fun of other people. But regardless, I'm praying for him because he recently went to the hospital to correct a heart defect. He had heart surgery. He's had some complications from that. Well, he had a minor collapse in one of his lungs. He tweeted or posted something. He said he felt like he was near death the other night. So we're praying for his full and speedy recovery. As you can imagine, a lot of people who don't like Crowder came out and basically said, we just hope that you die. We hope that death claims you. All sorts of nasty things. And it makes you understand why God flooded the earth or completely obliterated cities like Sodom and Gomorrah off the face of the planet, when you hear about how could everybody but Noah be up to no good. And you have to remember, when our thoughts are up to no good, God knows these things. And when you're wishing death upon somebody just because you don't agree with their views, that's terrible. That's kind of like murder in your heart. So while I don't like or disagree with a lot of people, I don't hate anybody, but while I do disagree with them, I would never wish death upon them, especially when they're laying in a hospital bed. So this was just vile, uncalled for behavior, and we should pray for those people too, that they find a heart. Guys, that's all I have for you today. As always, if you like this video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I love you and have a blessed day.